All right. Well, good morning, PT on Ice. Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Many of you may have seen Alan popped on earlier this morning as well to say thanks, so make sure you go back and check that out. Can't say thank you enough to Alan for staying by with all the insanity and just grinding day in and day out to make this company something special. So always great to see him pop on. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I am back in Michigan. Back at the clinic that my brother and I ran for all those years. And it's a cool time to be back. I mean, obviously it's always a good time to be with family around Thanksgiving. But it's a cool time to be back and reflect on what we're thankful for. And I think to take a little pause and maybe talk a bit about, some key things that we're thankful for and how the company grew and reflect on that. We're oftentimes asked questions about, how the company got started and what were some really key points. And I think there's no better time to pause and maybe speak to those things a bit than right now from this particular location and at this particular time of year. So strongly doubt a lot of folks are going to be on here live, but hopefully many of you can catch this on the recording and we can have some good banter back and forth about it. So, it's cool sitting here in this desk because I'm back in motion, back at our clinic, and this is where Periscope started. And when I kind of, think back to, what really got the company rolling, I mean, that was really what was responsible for that. And, for those of you who haven't been around all that long, hey, what's up, Kelsey? Happy Thanksgiving. Looking forward to seeing you all here in December. I'm down at South College. For those who have not been around from the real early days, a lot of this started on this app called Periscope, and I'm not sure if anybody uses it anymore because now Facebook Live and Instagram TV exist. But back then, those did not exist, right? So it was Twitter, and there was this app called Periscope, and right here in this chair, I started doing these videos, right? And I was doing them from a few questions, thinking I was answering them for a few people. And what happened was other folks started chiming in and saying, "Hey man, that was great. Could we do more of that?" And so pretty soon, every morning here from this office, I was doing this short video at like 6 o'clock in the morning every day. And that was where I really started getting fired up about this idea, good old Periscope, Adam. Remember that? That was where I got fired up because we could all engage, right? So, yeah, I mean, I was the one putting out the video, but we were all engaging, right? So like people would respond and they would send me videos later and say, "Well, Jeff, I do it this way," And so we had all of these different folks and all these different ideas that were coming together. And that really got me fired up because I was like, man, if we can challenge each other like this and we can learn from each other in real time, like there's really something here. And that sort of sprung the much bigger idea of locking shields at a much bigger scale because it was very easy. It was very convenient. I mean, I could sit here and show this and folks could say, "Well, I think this works better." And pretty soon all day, we were having these really rich discussions about things that we would bring up each morning. So the way I saw that was I was just coming up with a topic that we could all then springboard off of. And really nothing has changed. Like, I mean, I still see that as being the basic premise. And it's been so cool now to watch. I mean, there's so many Facebook Live videos going on now and Instagram Live things. And it's been so cool to watch that medium explode because the origins of that were very near and dear to my heart. Like, I think, back many years ago, that was what was the wellspring of so many things that went forward. So I guess my first thank you on this Thanksgiving episode is to those who were engaged on Periscope early on, because that really, I think, looking at how this company moved forward, that was really the first sort of push that we needed to think, something could happen here. Like something very special could get rolling. The right people seem to be hearing the message, and that gave the energy and the impetus that ultimately drove, I think, everything that followed it. So for those who even remember what the app was, for those who were engaged back then, I can't say thanks enough for being there. But then all the discussions that followed, like all day and even into the evening, like us debating topics that came up, and man, do I look back at that fondly. So that's one huge thanks. And the other one that is equally early on, really goes to, Aaron, remember that? So Aaron, my buddy Aaron Perez here just said, "I remember a lot more random trolls in the comments in the Periscope days." So what was hilarious was there was no controlling that, right? Like we had no idea what we were doing. So we didn't know how to filter people. We didn't know how to make it so only friends could follow you, because we were just using it to share ideas with each other. But we really had the idea back then was not to grow anything. It was just to share ideas. So we had no clue what we were doing, which led to some very colorful interactions back in the day. So yeah, man, I totally remember that, Aaron. That's great. In similar along the kind of getting things started lines, my second thank you really goes, and I won't mention names, but, to the group of folks who, when I was a teaching assistant down in Chicago, kind of reached out to me right after the class, and said, hey man, there was something special about that. Like, the content that you were teaching, we just want to say how much it resonated with us, as people. Like it was bigger than advancing our clinical skills. Like we think that a chord was struck there that was meaningful in a deeper way. And that phone call was received for me driving back from Chicago and kind of getting the nudge from them of saying, dude, you should do some of these courses, independently. Like you should try and run a few of these. And I remember, hanging up the phone and thinking, well, I don't have a company, so that's never going to work. And then, I still remember where I was driving. It wasn't that far from where I'm sitting right now. And I remember sitting there thinking, well, why couldn't I do that? And I guess I'm really appreciative for that nudge from those folks to say, maybe you should think about this. Because I got to admit, once I hung that phone up, driving those kind of long, empty miles here in northern Wisconsin, upper Michigan, and thinking, late into the night, like, why couldn't I do that? Like we've got this Periscope thing rolling, and that was really, I think, the seed that got planted of maybe a company, maybe something formal could actually start here. And so you guys know who you are. If it wasn't for you guys kind of giving me that nudge and saying, hey, you should really consider this. I'm not sure if the idea ever would have come to fruition or not, but I do know that it was due to you guys that it did. So that was, hey, what's up, Tony? Yeah, man, happy Thanksgiving. Same to you and your crew. So thank you for that. That meant the world to me. And I think it was a big part of what got us here. The next thanks I have to give, and I've got to give some perspective here, is you got to realize when this company started, how small the groups were that we taught to. So I'm sitting right here. So again, I'm in Back in Motion. I'm in Iron Mountain, Michigan. I'm in our clinic, and we had a group, I'll never forget, right here in front of me, we had a group of 3. So I recall a weekend course right here where we had 3 people, right? So if you can imagine that, right? 8 hours Saturday, 8 hours Sunday, just hammering, right? And we had 3 folks. So I had to lay down on the table. So I was the other partner. So we had 2 groups of 2, right? I'm telling you, I have never enjoyed a course so much. Yeah, I think back in those who, I hope those who were here are listening today, but, thinking back what I laugh reflecting on now is how little it mattered that there were 3 people. Like for those of you who were here, we went to lunch right here at Solberg's, right at Greenleaf's, and I just remember how engaged we were, how little. What I love reflecting on is how there was no difference between that group that we had or the 44 that we had at Mayo a couple weekends ago. It was the same feeling of let's get a little better. Like all of us, myself included, let's just figure out a way over the next couple days to get a little bit better for that 7 o'clock patient on Monday. Like there was no difference. The volume has not changed the passion. And I'm so thankful for that. But to those who did show up, right, back when those groups were small, I mean, I remember personally, every time we'd have a class, right, I remember faxing people, right? So from this fax machine right here, I would fax. So I would look at where we were hosting the course. I would find every single clinic, right, within a couple-hour drive, and I would fax them. I bet Alan's laughing at me right now. It's got to sound like something from the 70s for him. But I would personally fax them the ad, right, of like, hey, we're doing this course. I know you have no idea who we are, but we're going to have a great weekend. I mean, for those who got that fax off the machine and actually came, a sincere thank you, right? Because I mean, that was as grassroots as it gets. I mean, we were having classes. We were always trying to get, the idea was trying not to lose money, right? So we were always trying to get that 4th or 5th person, because that way we would break even. So that was always the idea back in the day was, could we hold these courses, right? And could we all learn a ton together and not lose money? And it's funny thinking that was the goal, but that was the goal. Like it was just simply about, could we get a little better as a group and could we have that paid for, right? The goal wasn't really to make money early on. It was just, could we pull these things off? So, I mean, thanks to those who allowed it to happen. Who got a random fax from some crazy dude and said, what the heck, I need some CEUs anyhow. And this person seems to care about this stuff, because I would call the clinics too. I'd follow the fax machine with a call. And hey, here's what we're doing, and here's what we're going to go over. And it's going to be a great crew. So thanks to those who came, and thanks to those who hosted. Right. So I think back. So, I mean, big thanks, obviously, to Back in Motion for the support early on. But thanks to Active PT from Marquette. Right. Thanks to Kip Hartman. Thanks to DCH, our local hospital right here, Dickinson County Hospital, for the huge support. Right. Tim McGuire, Ed Mathis. Right. In getting their clinicians to these courses to support a guy who was trying to get something going. Right? I mean, I know you guys bent over backwards to get a couple other people, probably talked them into it, again, to make sure that we didn't lose our shorts. And that enabled a few of these early courses to go down that really gave the company a lot of encouragement early on. So thanks to those who came to classes of 3 or 4 people, and thanks to those who were willing to host and let us use the facility and not charge a lot of money so that we could have these events and eventually get something going. So thanks to that, right? Moving on to the team, right? The team was small back then. And again, this is something we've never talked about on the show, so I hope people realize how it got rolling. But, when I answered that call coming back from Chicago, and I realized, like, maybe we're on to something, and then this Periscope thing, you all were engaging so much, and it's like, maybe we could do something distinctly different and valuable. I mean, the one quote we've said a million times since the beginning of ICE, because it means maybe more to us than any quote, is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Like, we hold that near and dear to our heart. I have felt that way from the very, very first day this started, because the moment I knew we were going to make a run at it, the moment I knew we were going to go for it and try to build a company out of this thing, I called Eric Chaconis and Jason London in the same day. Right. So I thought to myself, and this is really, quite honestly, how a lot of our upstaffing has taken place all the years since, was I thought to myself, if these people are involved, we're going to be able to make a serious go at it. Like, these people are so good that if I can get them on the team, we're going to be able to make a run at it. And that is literally how I have thought to myself about every single staff member that we have added right up until 2018, right? If I can get this person involved, I know we can make it go. Like, I have felt that strongly about every single person that we have added to the organization. But back then, I was asking Eric and Jason to join a group of 0, right? I mean, my pitch was basically, guys, I hold these classes, right? We oftentimes get 3 to 4 people to come, haven't lost a lot of money yet, right? Seems to be looking up more and more folks engaging on Periscope every day. Like, that was overall kind of the sell that I had available. In these wackos, right, we're like, yeah, man, that sounds great. Like, we're in, right? How can we help? And I just think about, people that are so talented, that have so many possibilities and so many opportunities, even considering for a moment that could be a reasonable use of their time. So, I mean, obviously, and thank you to everybody on the team, right? The staff is too big to go through list by person, and they're all too important to not give them proper credit doing so. But I do want to say thanks to Eric and Jason for jumping on at ground zero. And still being on today, right? And still running courses. Eric crushes our extremity course. And Jason, of course, does our rehab of the injured runner, professional bike fit. Still working at the clinic in Bozeman. I'm a co-owner now and just killing it. But thanks to those guys early on for fostering the craziness, that was this idea. And then going from that very original point, my next thank you really goes to Gene Shirakabrad, right? Because Gene Shirakabrad of UpDoc Media and Recharge, he and I started this group called Masterminds. And so this is kind of going now into the next phase of evolution, right? Gene and I started this company, or not a company. We started this group called Masterminds, right? And it was this online virtual mentorship. And again, this was years ago. And again, I was sitting right here doing all the original lectures. And it was leveraging, and thanks to Gene, right? I never would have really thought about this as being possible, but Gene and I were talking about student internships, right? So we had connected on Twitter, and we were talking about how we had these students leaving clinic after their 8 or 12 weeks with us individually as practitioners, and they were saying, man, I wish I would have known a lot of this before, because I'm a lot more fired up about going into outpatient now. And they would tell these stories about, like, hey, things are really different for me since I came here. And Gene and I were like, man, we got to find a way to scale this, right? Like we've got these students leaving saying that they're now going to do things differently because we were able to show them some of this stuff. Like there's got to be a way that we can amplify that. And really, to Gene's credit, he was like, well, we could do all this virtually. We could actually start an online group, and we could have, a private Facebook group, and we could have these lectures, and we could meet, and so we did. And so for those of you who I'm sure are cracking up right now, we started this group called Masterminds, and we had, I don't know how many folks wound up being in it, but every week we would meet. I think it was like on Tuesday nights, and it just drew some of the highest performing people that I have ever had the privilege to know, because again, it was people who were seeking out something different. It was folks who were like, I don't know what that is, but those people seem fired up, and what I'm doing isn't good enough right now. So I'm going to go I'm going to carve out time. I'm going to meet in the evenings. I'm going to dialogue during the week. I look back at that group and I look at, who's involved in our companies and where things are going. And that core group of people has been so tremendously instrumental in my personal development, in the career, in this company. I mean, those were incredible times and incredible people. And Gene and Ryan Smith now, of course, are out there crushing it with Recharge, and everything they're doing with Ben and with UpDoc Media. And Masterminds no longer exists. But boy, did it serve its purpose, to bring together kind of that original band. And again, just show us another way that we could do this stuff. It was, again, kind of like Periscope, just showed us, hey, there's another way that we can do this. Like we can interact in a very different way in this age. And now realizing that we can interact kind of in this online virtual, I guess, mentorship group, you could call it. And again, what's cool, similar to, since Periscope, watching this whole idea of doing live video blow up, it's been cool since Masterminds watching this whole idea of like virtual online mentorship blow up. Because back then, that was nothing we had ever heard of. And now there's tons of, great online mentorship programs that are wielding that same kind of technology. So it's been so cool to think back to, us trying to figure it out and now watch it really grow to scale. So a sincere thank you, and I'll reach out to Gene personally later on today, of course, but sincere thanks to Gene Shirakabrad for his vision, and to everybody who was a part of that group. Like I said, the whole Recharge crew now and UpDoc crew, as well as the whole Core Ice group. So just want you guys to know that some of these key things that happened that I'm deeply thankful for, that I'll never forget about, that were the core of everything that we have become now is more strength of size we've been blessed with. These core things are never less important. They're only more important. And of course, my last kind of thank you before I say one more thing about where we're going is obviously to my wife and kids for tremendous tolerance and maybe irrational optimism, right? That, you got to think those 3-day weekend or those weekends with 3 people, right, were sandwiched. By the way, those weekends with 3 people that we lost $400 on for me traveling and using hotel rooms and stuff that we did not make that money back. Those weekends were sandwiched in between 50-hour clinical work weeks. So you can imagine in the genesis of this, how it was Monday through Thursday, right here in the clinic, 6:30 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. with oftentimes no lunch. Friday from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. so that I could drive to Chicago, right, to hold a course at Rockford, with Aussie, or down in Traverse City with Superior PT, or you drive and crash somewhere and have a course, only to drive back after the course on Sunday night, get back at midnight, and then get up at 5 a.m. to go to clinic and do my Periscope and hammer patients, and how those weekends were being completely taken up by this dream that they supported unrelentingly. And I'm sure to their exhaustion. But thanks, obviously, first and foremost, goes to them for the support in those times where it could have went either way. The odds were strongly against us. I mean, early on, you're well aware that the odds of it panning out at scale aren't very good. But there they were, believing that I and that we could do it. And that, thanks, I can never say enough. So thank you to them. On the side, very proud of my wife's yoga studio. It's their first Thanksgiving, Sustaining Balance Yoga, in Severance, Colorado. So I'm really excited for her, in that now in her team, her team of faculty members, and I guess you should call them instructors. yoga folk who are putting on courses and blowing up in Colorado. So thank you to my wife and thank you to my kids for everything, and certainly for the early day support. And now going forward, the last thing I'll say, because I'll let you guys go and enjoy your Thanksgiving, and we'll stop reminiscing and move on to moving forward. But I want to say thanks to the nudges in directions that I never would have thought of. So this is really important because I think it goes into where we're going, and that I was pretty sure early on that we could develop really high quality content in the spine, right, with manipulation, with back and neck management, with chronic pain, even runners and cyclists, Jason's work. Like, I was pretty sure back then. Thanks, man. Will, I'm grateful for everything you guys are doing, man. Thanks for the support from the very early days. And so I knew that we were going to do that and be in that space and do something meaningful as far as offering high quality courses. But what I'm so thankful for is the nudges that we've gotten from our faculty team, from our close friends, to go into different unexpected areas, right? So like, I never thought that we were going to be able to make the kind of change that we have in prevention, health promotion, and on-site services, right? In fitness athlete. Right, Lord knows I did not see myself, being a part of a company that was killing it in the fitness athlete division. And if it was only for me, obviously we would not be. But we brought on the right people who are in the right place and have the right passion. And now we're seeing this growth in our fitness athlete division, in our older adult division. Right, never dawned on me until I was really tracking Dustin and Christina and learning about how underserved this population was. And quite honestly, I never even really thought about a lot of the things being so important for everybody that should be important for everybody, right? In realizing this niche of upping our game with older adults, like, that was never an area that I guess I had foresight in. The whole online world, thank goodness for Dustin and Alan and all of their tech savviness to develop this online curriculum we have, because I think about who it's reached. Right? Like, I mean, the ability to offer, really structured content and personalized content in all of this online, all of these different areas, those I never foresaw. And it's completely a thanks to all the individuals with their unique skill set. Again, if you want to go far, go as a team, right? This is why, because not only would I never have foreseen it, I don't have the talent in those areas. Like, I never would have been able to get us there if I did foresee it. But because you bring on the right people, right, you wind up being able to not only go in these areas, but go in these areas at a level of excellence that is above and beyond anything you could have imagined. That only happens because the people around you are absolutely dynamite. If you want to go far, go as a team. I know you can go fast solo. I get it. There's no doubt that's the easier route, much easier to brand, right? Much easier to maneuver. Right? But if it is distance, if it is meaningful change, if it is legitimate scale, if it is these things you want, it is leveraging the incredible talent of the people that are willing to work alongside you. That is where it's at. And this is a great example, and really it leads into my final word on what I'm most excited for. And that is that we are now enabling people's careers, I think, in a way that, again, I never would have foreseen. I mean, think about the early intervention stuff. I mean, just a huge heartfelt thank you to not only Mike Eisenhart, but everybody at Proactivity Gen 1, right, who have really locked shields with what we're doing at ICE. And I never want it forgotten. I'll never let it be forgotten. That we talk now it's very popular, right? Everyone, early on-site intervention, of course, prevention, health promotion, teaming up alongside companies where, it's where the money is, or wasting money on healthcare. We can take a nudge out of that. That has now gotten almost old hat. Don't let it be lost that it was Mike and his team and Eric and Nick and Justin and all of these guys grinding for decades, right? I mean, they had their 20th anniversary this year, like decades, grinding with this message when nobody was echoing it, right? It's that got us to a point to understand that it can actually be done. That we can prepare people, therapists, rehab specialists, right? Conservative folks. We can prepare musculoskeletal specialists to go inside of these companies and mitigate some of the medical harm and certainly the medical overexpense that is unnecessarily taking place. It is because of their work that the scale of change that is now currently unfolding before our eyes. I mean, I look at, we've got Proactivities now in Nashville, and Allie's up and running in North Carolina, and we're looking at Aaron over in Chicago, and we're looking at Columbus. The scale is now happening. And boy, am I lucky to be on that bus. Are we lucky to be on that bus? But just don't let it be forgotten that there were a lot of muddy, trenchy roads that were towed through to get us to a point where now it sure seems like we're a part of something very successful and something very exciting. There was a lot of trudging, and my hat's off to all of you, and I'll never forget that. And so thanks to the Proactivity Gen 1. And then I think about, again, the excitement of being able to put people, in these companies and watch them not only make great money, but do what we've always talked about doing. And how long have we talked about being on the prevention side of things, right? Certainly when I was in school, everybody was talking about it, like what we should be doing, right? It's not seeing people after all these surgeries and medications and imaging findings and nocebos, and they're so hard to get better. We should be the first person to see them, and I'm following Julie Fritz's early work all the way up to Bianca Frogner's work that we talked about a few weeks ago. It's always been a great idea. Right? But now we're actually seeing people doing it. So when we're putting people in companies and they are mitigating those costs and they are changing the future of those employees' lives who now aren't getting those first unnecessary images and going that over medicalization route. And so now these employees' lives are forever altered because somebody is there to de-escalate, to inform, to educate, to guide, to support, right? Like someone's in that place. Even more importantly, someone's in that company even earlier, preventing that person from ever having the complaints that would lead to the over-medicalization, right? So it is incredibly exciting now through our whole APHPT curriculum that Mike is driven, that Allie now is taken up the reins and driven as well. And now we've got Jeremy and Megan leading courses in teaching people how to think that way and how to be in that place. And it's now becoming extraordinarily viable. I would say now probably viable to the point where demand is going to be our biggest challenge. It's going to outweigh supply. But being able to see people going into that space successfully is incredibly exciting. And that we're a small part of enabling that is unbelievable, right? And the other avenue we're seeing folks kind of leave our company and go into is opening their own out-of-network practice. And here is a huge hat tip to Sarah Heron in Aero Physical Therapy for really creating, again, doing the work ahead of time so the rest of us could kind of enjoy scaling up the message and putting out the bat symbol. But seeing what Aero has done so well that now they, Sarah and Beth as well now can turn and show other clinicians how to do it. And so now we're seeing our people, our ICE folks, being able to leverage what they have done. I just listened to Sarah's last lecture last night, and holy man, the out-of-network course, it's already sold out in January. One more spot in April. It's going to be sold out all the way to the end of next year. And I see why. Like the content she's putting in there to enable clinicians to take the skills that we build in ICE and then go and be successful in their own practice is absolutely next level. But to be able to actually do that, to have a company that is now being able to put people in a position, whether it's on-site in the workplace, whether it's in an out-of-network practice, whether it's just being successful in their own practice, whether it's combining these things, but actually not only getting them good, but helping to enable their careers. I guess that's where, as I was sitting here this morning, I was here really early, sitting here this morning and thinking about where are we going and what am I most excited about? What I am most excited about is those that have jumped on this train and have allowed us to have the privilege of developing them. We now have an end goal for them. We can now actually put them in spots in their career in different areas that are lucrative, that are ethical, that are exciting, that are changing the face of healthcare. And I guess that's where I stand here on Thanksgiving 2018. Every year I reflect, but every year I've always felt like the excitement of organizing, of building, of trying to get things ready, right? Getting that next team member who I feel like, if we can get them on board, everything can go forward. Like I've always been excited about that, and I still am. What's different about this year is I look to my left and I look to my right, and I see a team that is officially ready to start. I always laugh when people are like, Jeff, do you feel like ICE has made it, quote unquote, made, whatever that means. And I always laugh at that. I'm like, no, I feel like ICE is ready to start though. Like, I feel like we are now at the starting line. Like everything up the past 7 years, right? Everything up until this day has been getting that right team with the right tech, with the right vision, with the right resources. I look right, I look left now, and I see them in the starting blocks, ready to rock and roll. And I laugh because I think about this crew, right? And I don't think about us, the wind is blowing, challenges are there. I don't think about us as a group that's going to lean into the wind, right? Like it's one way you could look at it, we're up against it. The overall healthcare environment is challenging. The wind is blowing hard. We're going to lean into it. I don't feel that way. I look around, I see so much talent. All I see is sales, right? I picture this thing like a big sailboat, and all these people flanking right and left are these huge sails. We are not going to lean into the wind. We are going to capture it, and we are going to sail these seas, right? The next couple of years is not going to be inch by inch, right? The team has been built. The vision is there. The opportunity is there. The talent is in overabundance. In the people in this profession, the care and the passion is there, right? Like everybody wants to see things get different. I'm telling you right now, I've never believed more in my career that things are about to get really, really different. And by different, I mean good. So I really appreciate you all humoring us. It's fun to talk about the company. I can't tell you how much I care about everything we've been able to do, not only as ICE, but as a profession, as rehab specialists, as folks who are locking shields to change the way the healthcare is going forward, because the system is sick, but the solution is there. Now it's a matter of can we execute. So folks, thank everybody that you care about. Thank everybody that you love today. Spend time with family. Appreciate them, right? Take a breather. Take some downtime. Reflect on your own past year, right? What has went well, right? Where you're going to go forward. And then get really, really excited. And then take everything you've got and execute. All right, team. Have an awesome Thanksgiving. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for being here.